All right, let's do this. So we're diving in to chapters, was it 14 through 17 tonight? Is that
Correct. That's right.
right? And man, this stuff, I mean, you guys have heard me say it a million times, but this is like social work stuff that I learned, but in like super digestible, like real life stories. And I'm like reading through this with all my own like thoughts about my life and my own history of codependency and people pleasing. And then I'm thinking about it like in my personal life, but I'm also thinking about it as a leader of like a large social like network marketing team. And like you are dealing with so many people. Like, and people are peopling all over the place. And like I sometimes don't even know what to do with that. Like I do, but I don't. And so it's like, how much do you help and when is helping hurting? And man, I just think these chapters do such a good job of like of no non Mel, I feel like is no nonsense. She just
Agreed.
doesn't like it is. And I appreciate it sometimes because she doesn't beat around the bush. So people only change when they feel like it. So, like, the science is they're not going to do it until they're ready. So it's got to be their idea. So when she's talking about the nagging wife, like, hopefully my family's not going to watch this, but I immediately thought of my father-in-law and mother-in-law. And she is always nagging my father-in-law, you've got to get healthy. You've gained too much weight. You're not like you're not doing well. You're eating too much and all this stuff, right? And he never would. I mean, he was just like in one ear and out the other. It was like nag, 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 like all this stuff, the nagging wife. And then, but his like high school reunion came up and he was gonna have to be around all of his old high school buddies, and he was the football stud. It was the motivation that he needed to do the things. Like, so it was his idea. He had to come around to it first. So, like, when you push someone, they push back. And so I thought it was interesting when she talked about, he has to say it's going, wait, oh man, I forgot where I put it. Basically, when it starts to attach the ick feelings to her, then he pushes away from her too. Like that pressure to change, we have to let them decide when it's their turn. So adults only change when they feel like it. The feeling has to come from within them. Two, human beings are wired to move toward what feels good. And sometimes avoiding pain is what feels good, right?
Hmm.
So, like when we think, oh, this is just easy, like, why don't you just take these products? Like, this is easy. It's made for maybe 8 capsules at nighttime, like before, but you just swallow them. You just, just like, it's so easy. Just do, do the thing.
2 seconds of your day, and that's if it takes a while to mix up your drink.
Yeah. But like when I break it down, there's like pain going on in their head. Like,
Mhm.
pain of remembering, the pain of having to order, or not even that pain may not be the right word, but friction. It's so much easier to just go to bed. I don't like having one more step, to have to do before bed. Adulting is hard, like these are all these like friction spots, but when it's their idea and it's their motivation, they're going to be more likely to do it, right? But I think it's important for us to remember that to speak to realizing that this is going to be a little bit complicated to have to change your routine or to remember one more thing. We take that for granted because we've been doing it for years, right? Like it is so simple to us. But in the beginning it might not have been. It was like the pain of what if. Like what if I waste my money on this thing and it doesn't work like the 20 other things I've tried before? Why is this one going to be any different? So there is stuff that's friction that I think that we forget about, like in this business, because we've been doing it for so long and we know these products work and we see the positive. But I think it's a mistake for us to not see the ick in the middle.
Yeah, I think you touched on something that really is critical, and it's that pain of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've lost hope because so many things haven't worked.
Yep.
Either that or, the what's going to happen? I've had people ask me, do I need to be by my bathroom all day? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to start it because I have to work this week. And I'm like,
Yes.
no. So it's that fear of the unknown, which I think not just in business, but anything,
Hmm.
like my mom, who's an alcoholic, probably is horribly afraid of, like, what does life feel like not drunk? She's been drunk for 50 years. Like, what's it actually feel like?
Yeah.
And that just,
Hmm.
um, the fear of change. You have to change. Like
Yeah.
anything, if you really want change, you actually have to
Hmm.
do the change. And like how that she was talking about our friend's husband, it just feels better to sit on the couch and eat chips.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love this quote. No matter how loving, well, I think I changed it up a little bit. But no matter how loving your intentions, if people feel like you're trying to fix them, that feels like more pain, which means people are going to move away from you. And I think, I mean, I know I was this way, especially in the beginning of my business. I'm like, come on, do this with me, do this with me, do this with me, do this with me. Come on, like you would feel so much better if you just do this with me, like, "Ugh." And without meaning to, really pushed a lot of people away, especially people that were closest to me.
Mhm.
They felt like manipulated. They felt like I was trying to change them, that they had to do exactly what I was doing, or I wasn't going to get they weren't going to get my approval, or I wasn't going to love them, or whatever. Unintentionally, maybe was giving off these feelings, and I think we have to be really careful about that. And I think that's why, saying like, if this is for you, and this might be for you, like in how we word our posts and how we talk to people, leaving that door open for it being their choice. Um, Taking the shoulds out of this. You should do this and you should do that. People really don't like how that feels. They don't like the shaming feelings either. Unconditional love, acceptance, and support is what helps people. Um, yeah, pressure doesn't create change, it creates resistance. People need to feel a sense of agency. And that's a big thing in the social work world, is like giving agency back to people. They have choice in their lives. Like, you are in control of you. Only you know you best. So when we're talking to people, only they know their journey. Only they know how much pain and resistance it's going to take for them to make a change. And we need to respect that in a lot of ways, I think. But we have to let them fail if they want to. I think that's something I took away from.
Was this the chapter? I'm looking for it in the book and I'm wondering if it was only in the Audible, where she talks about the actual brain scans, where if somebody is saying something negative to another person, the brain scans show that they actually are not even listening. As soon as
Mm.
is that
It's
this
in,
chapter?
yeah, it's, I don't remember
But
for
I
sure.
thought that was so fascinating
Yeah.
because I think we all do that, but I've never taken not knowing that's what was happening,
Hmm.
right? Like when we're nagging on somebody or getting negative about certain things that they do,
Hmm.
their brain isn't even and
Registering.
talking about just how much
Yeah.
more, you know,
Hmm.
progress you can make by like giving somebody a high five and encouragement when they actually do, if the overweight husband does walk on the treadmill, don't make it a big deal about it. Just be like, I'm proud of you. Like, not I told you it was going to be easy. It wasn't that hard, was it? And,
Yeah.
now you
Yeah.
got to do it tomorrow night to
Yeah.
good job, I see you.
Mhm.
Because that nagging, our brains apparently don't even
Yeah. Well,
register.
or it registers, but it registers as stress,
Yeah.
like,
Not making us want to do anything.
oh, so that made me think too. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's spoke at our conventions before, or some meeting thing. Um, and he talks about using the phrase, based on the fact that you said that you're having issues with this. I think that
Phil
fits
Jones?
perfectly. Who?
Phil Jones.
Yes.
Phil Jones.
Yes. Isn't it like exactly what to say or something like that? Like that's his, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I love that, and I think that fits in with this, like, because the only behavior you can change, what the only behavior you can change is yours, but we can inspire. Um, so I think about it like that's a very non-manipulative way. Like you told me this, like this is your goal, not mine. You know, based on the fact that you said you're having these stomach issues, I think I would recommend this. And it like turns it back on this is your motivation, right? Not mine, not me selling something to you. This is what you said you needed. Um, and I was also thinking there was something in my brain that popped up when I said, the only behavior you can change is yours, but we can inspire. I thought about that on social media, like how we how we inspire people is by showing them the daily changes we're making. Like we show what's going well in our lives. I forget about this. Like when I get in these like social media funks and I think it's supposed to look this way or this way. And I'm like, if I just show up as Sunny doing what Sunny's doing to try to have a healthy life every day, that I forget that not everybody's doing that. Like I forget that not everybody is going to the gym or making healthier choices in their foods or like I forget that's not happening, and so that's the way that we inspire people to make positive change, right? Like without telling them what to do or being on their back, but like just showing, inspiring.
Yeah. And I like where she talked, if that yes, for sure it's to help people make changes, so much better to inspire them by what you're doing and but giving it 6 months.
Mhm.
Like if you want your husband to make a change, make the changes first, give it 6 months. Like it's gonna take time, but then also trying to inspire them without expectations, because then still at the back of your mind, you're like, ah, they haven't
Mhm.
changed yet. Like do it for you. Something in our house that has come up is, having a 13-year-old, and Rob used to thinking he was on his phone too much. He's always on his phone. He needs to be off his phone. Andrew, get off your phone. While Rob's his phone is super glued to his hand. And I'm like, you can't. And Cindy, you've seen his phone. It's a flip phone. He flips it without thinking every 10 seconds. So
Mhm.
even if he's not on it, you can tell it's in his hand. And I'm like, you can't tell him to get off his phone when yours is visible to us at all times.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Like you don't have a leg to stand on,
Mhm.
And I think that can apply to a gazillion things. Like if you're not doing it, on our teams, how often do we know, like if we're not doing the things and we're telling other people to do them, like, hey, sign 3. Well, when I post how many people have signed and I haven't signed 3, do you know what I mean? Like you have to lead by example
Mhm.
in anything. Like
Yeah.
my mom could never tell me not to be an alcoholic.
Mhm.
Based on what? That your life is a train wreck? You know what I mean? Like she could say it, but I feel like that applies to our children, our spouse, anybody we have influence over, our
Mhm.
team. Like,
Yeah. Good stuff. So moving on to 15.
yep,
Yeah. So unlocking the power of our influence. People are social creatures and are highly influenced and inspired by the people around them. I wrote down model the behavior that you want to see, accept them, but model change. Be patient. That's the whole 6 months thing, right? Like give up expectation that they're going to do anything or that it's going to look anything like what you want it to look like. But you can model the good behavior. I do think that the ABC loop is very interesting. I I personally love motivational interviewing and used it a lot in social work. Again, it's about agency, right? It's about truly letting people tell you what they're looking for, like what their change needs to be, because that's what's going to get them to do the things. Let's see, I wrote 215. Do, 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 do.
While you're looking, Jody, the ABC loop that she was talking about is A, apologize. So if you've been nagging somebody, apologize and then ask open-ended questions. That's where you're getting to what they really want. B, back off and just observe their behavior. And C, celebrate progress while you continue to model the change.
Mhm.
That may make more sense with what Sunny's about to go into on
Yeah. So, like,
215.
immediate positive compliments. So oh, yeah, and then okay, sorry. I got confused because the Audible was different than the book at this part, and she like did one part before she did another part, and I started taking notes. Then I was looking at the book, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is not this is not the same
Yes.
order. So my notes are all jumbled. So I'll just start with like so the ABC loop is apologize and ask open-ended questions. So it focuses on asking open-ended questions. The thought behind this technique is that getting the person to talk about how they feel will encourage them to think about the disconnect between what they want and their current behavior. So this is the opposite of pressure. I think that's an important note. It's an opposite of pressure. So instead of thinking you know what someone should do, you're asking open-ended questions because you're curious about where someone stands with their behavior. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when people come to me and they assume they know the answer for what I need. I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know me. Like, sure that worked for you, but like I get really frustrated when people are like, oh, you should. So I'm overly cautious about that when I'm talking to people about products. They're like, I'm like, tell me your story. Tell me what you want to see from this. Like, tell me what you've been struggling with, and also tell me what you've tried eat outside of Plexus. Tell me all the things that you've tried because maybe they've tried something else and they have these assumptions in their head. And me just telling them take this probiotic and they're like, I've tried 20. So maybe they need to know that our probiotic is different, right? So I wouldn't have known that had I not asked the open-ended questions. But okay, so the I want to apologize for judging and pressuring you. I realize I never asked you how you feel about your whatever the situation may be, your health, your grades, your job search, your living situation, marriage, drinking, finances, asking how they feel about it. They may not want change right now. And we have to be okay with that. Like, let them, right? So how are you feeling about your health right now? What we want to do is encourage people to think about their own situation. Um, not going to share your feelings about it. So yeah, no matter what their answer is, it's not our job to share what we think about it. It's our job just to listen and take what they say into account. Um, it sounds like you're okay with your health because you've been this way for a long time, and just asking deeper and deeper and deeper questions. Um, she says, I have to emphasize, do not get discouraged if all you get is one word answers, or they keep trying to change the subject. Um, not you're not trying to get them to tell you the truth. It's to create discomfort in some ways that they feel internally. And it probably is uncomfortable when they bring up things they know they need to change or they know they need to change, but you're just asking in a as non-judgmentally as you possibly can, right? So that tension is what's critical because ultimately it becomes the source of their motivation to change because we have to have enough internal pain to want to make changes. So, I thought I had something else on that. Maybe not. So then the next one is the back off, observe the behavior, and then celebrate their progress as you see it. People do want to feel good, but there's like a blockages in the way of that. It doesn't always feel good when you first do the things. Something that was she went out of order a little bit, but the prep work to doing that ABC loop is the using the 5 whys method, which I think is so good. Like I've done that to myself before, and um, it gets real serious real quick, honestly, when you start asking why something matters to you. So the 5 whys method is a formula. in business or marriage to help get unstuck and gain profound insights. So whenever you faced a problem you can't seem to solve, so you'll ask why 5 total times until you feel like you've gotten to a much deeper answer as to why something bothers you, why something is annoying you or a person or whatever. Um, why does this person's behavior or the situation bother me so much? Think about it, write your answer, then ask again. Why does that bother you? Why does that bother you? Um, and I love that she said, give yourself permission to get to the root, even if it's something ugly that you discover about yourself. Because I'm thinking about like situations, um, like it usually uncovers some flaw I have in myself, right? Like if it's talking about my business, the answer is I'm not motivated to do some of the things I know I'm supposed to do. Or, like if I get down to some of the nitty gritty, or I'm thinking like she mentions that you're worried about what a person's drinking, how that reflects on you. So it comes down to it's my ego that's being bruised by hanging out with people who say and do things like that on social media. I don't necessarily want to be associated with these people who do these certain things this certain way because I don't want it to look bad on me. And that's the raw, honest truth. And asking those whys gets to that deeper um, meaning. And I think it's good too when we're to ask ourselves, like, why am I not working my business like I know I need to? Like why, what is keeping me from doing that? Why? Or the opposite direction, like, why is it important for me to work my business? Like, why do I want to? What's my motivation to do that? And kind of getting to your deeper why. We do that a lot in our business. I'm sure you guys do too, Christy.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, so those are some of my thoughts from the chapter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the five whys, I've used it so often when I'm coaching someone on the life coaching side. It can be applied to absolutely everything,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you've said this or heard it, Sonny, but it's like your why will make you cry. Almost in any direction. If you really get to the why something matters, why? And you say it. Well, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does that matter? And I loved what she said in here is doing that process, you don't actually have to tell the person. Like if we're doing it to ourselves, that's one thing. We're figuring out why are we not working our business or why do we want the business? But if we're trying to, if I'm trying to figure out why I really do not want my husband to smoke pot and I dig it, I don't have to tell him what it gets to, but when you do that process, they talk about like, then you at least know where you're coming from. You still need to back off. Like it's, as much as I hate it, he's a grown adult, whatever. There's certain things that they're grown adults. Humans can do. We can't control the humans. Um, but knowing, you know, why we have certain thoughts on things, I
Hmm.
think can be important in us just nothing else settling down and realizing, like you said, Sonny, it's about me.
Hmm.
It's almost always if I'm trying to control what people do, my
Hmm.
children, my spouse, my mother, it's about usually comes down to what their actions, how it affects me. It's my ego.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that one's a hard pill for me to swallow.
it's not easy.
Not
It'd just be
easy.
easier if everybody just did what I told them to, because then it would just be so much easier. I have such good opinions on what people should do. I don't know why they're not all doing it.
I have lots
Absurd to
of
me.
good unsolicited advice.
I
I
mean,
really
just
do.
ask poor Jody. Jody's been hearing my opinion for like almost 40 years now. I have so many, so many opinions on what I think humans should do.
Yeah, if they would just all listen to us, it would be great. So at the end of the chapter, she goes over the problem. The problem is that pressure doesn't create change; it creates resistance. So when we think we're trying to pressure people into doing something good, we're actually just creating more resistance. So we're making the problem worse. We're even with our best intentions, it yields worse results, like the worst results. You think tension and frustration are due to the fact the other person won't do what you wish, but you're wrong. The tension and disconnection are being created by your pressure. So our pressuring people is causing more of the issue. So the truth is that adults only change when they feel like changing. We're hardwired with survival instincts and something, another social worky thing, like, um, yep, my brain just absolutely lost what I was going to say. Let me read that sentence again and see if it comes back to me. Um, Humans are hardwired survival instinct to be in control of every aspect of their life. Yeah, so our brains are created to keep us alive, not to help us grow, right? So like we can look at thoughts, like we're evolutionarily um evolved to see like a saber-toothed tiger and run, right? Like, but we also see thoughts the same way. Like we miss that part. So like we see thoughts as just as dangerous as a saber-toothed tiger. And so we will run from those just like they're dangerous, but it's just a thought, right? So we're hardwired with this survival instinct. So if we're having these negative thoughts or these uncomfortable thoughts, even, we are trained to run away from them. We have to be aware of that. So, like, we instinctively try to stay safe, and that does not bode well for growth often. So, we have to have pain in order to the, when the pain of not doing becomes more than the pain of doing, we will do the thing. But that has to be internal. Does that make sense? Like I just said a whole lot of mumbo jumbo, but hopefully that makes some more sense. Anyway, human beings want to feel accepted and loved. They need to be in control of their own thoughts, decisions, and actions. And our power is in our influence. So the solution is to help people unlock their intrinsic motivations to change for themselves. So, ABC loop, open ended questions, model behavior change, celebrate progress, and use your power to change other people. Um, yeah, I think that's it for chapter 15. 16. Christy, you good with that? 16?
Yep.
Let's say, what do I have over here? I have notes here, I have notes in the book. I'm kind of all over the place. Um, Yeah, the more you rescue, the more they sink. So supporting versus enabling. So Christy having an alcoholic mother, me having an alcoholic father, I am well versed in codependency and enabling people in their behaviors, and it is kind of the worst. It's kind of the worst being stuck in that situation. So when people are struggling, they have a lot of shame and often denial about it. Like, but we can also get caught in a loop of enabling them so that they don't feel that shame. Oh, it's okay. It's all right. Like, I care about you, love you anyway. Everything's fine. You were just an asshole last night, but everything's fine. We can forgive and forget. Like, to what end, right? Like, we're enabling, we're keeping them from hitting the rock bottom that they need to hit in order to have the motivation to change for themselves. And that's a hard pill to swallow. And it's a hard, especially I think as a Christian, right? We're taught to love and love and love and love and love and love and love. To what end, right? Um, anyway, so it's a confusing place to be. So when people are struggling, they have a lot of shame. I don't want to be a burden. Adults heal when they are ready to do the hard work. When the pain of avoiding becomes more than the pain of doing the change, people will change their behavior. Choosing to change, just making the process easier, less expensive. Oh, I was thinking about this in our business, kind of the enabling part of things. Um, when we, um, I'm thinking of people who like say they want to work their business or they like want to make money, but then they're not doing the things or they're not going outside of their comfort zone to run a group or to lead a call. And we're like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'll do that for you. Oh, it's okay. Like I can lead the three-way chat for you. That's kind of like in a way its own enabling. Like we're keeping people from going outside of their comfort zone, and in doing that, we're kind of like she was talking about her child's anxiety. Like I was telling her that she couldn't handle her own anxiety. I was telling her, yeah, maybe you will fail at that, so I'll just go ahead and do this for you. We don't do our teams any favors by taking over and doing it all for them. Like letting them lead and do their own stuff is important. It's good. It's uncomfortable, but that's what where real change comes from. So avoidance is a type of coping. So us helping them avoid the anxiety tells them we think they can't handle it, which isn't cool. Like I like to think I'm just being helpful, right? But really the message I'm giving them is that they can't handle it or I don't think they're going to be able to do it well themselves. And I don't like how that feels. I don't like that. Um yeah, I think those are the notes I have from 16. Did you have anything you want
Um,
to add, Christy?
just again, like what you said of, um, it doesn't mean, well, there's a fine line. She says there's a fine line between, helping and enabling.
Hmm.
Um, or supporting and enabling. I find myself walking that line, trying to figure out. I, I find myself like when Andrew and I are talking to maybe somebody he doesn't know, and they ask him a question, answering it for him because I know he struggles with his words and getting a right answer out, and I don't want him to be embarrassed. I also don't want the person to just stare at us while he's trying to figure it out. And
Hmm.
I've been trying to stop doing that more, but I find myself, well, I'm helping him because I'm just answering it for him, but I'm not. He's not going to
Hmm.
ever learn how to have conversations with people if his mom answers all the questions,
Yeah.
and I think when you just think of it doesn't have to be about alcohol or whatever. It's like any time that we are doing whatever
Hmm.
for the person, they're not learning.
Yeah.
They're not they're not growing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's good. It's a good
so
example.
that was just something that has come up for me before, but in this chapter, I could go all day about, the alcoholism and things like that, but just
Hmm.
and like you said, like with our teams, I'm the first one to be like, I'll just do it for you.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do all the things for you.
Yeah.
Happy to.
Yep.
Until they never actually learn how to do it. And I'm like, where did I go wrong?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
because I just did it all for them. And now it's a year in and they still don't know how to do the things. And I'm like, ah.
Yeah. Something I appreciated from this chapter is that the hard truth about healing is that watching people fail sucks. It sucks. And she says you need an outlet for your judgment. So it doesn't mean just because you're letting them do it that suddenly you're not going to feel judgmental and everything's going to be great. No, you're going to feel like crap. Like
Mhm.
it's not going to feel good. Just like you need an outlet for your judgment, a therapist, a friend, because it won't help to aim it at the other person. In times of struggle, we need somebody who we can be judgmental with and just get our thoughts out in a safe place, but not toward the person we're dealing with. Um,
Yeah. And that's, like she says on 235, that's the let me part of it.
yeah,
Like you can validate, oh, honey, I'm so sorry you feel scared.
yep,
This is hard for me too to see you sad,
yeah.
but still not fixing it for them,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I just experienced that with my daughter had a job loss and she moved to a new city and state and my mom tendency would be to send her money and try to help her get by until she found a new job and yeah, she had savings and I had to really make myself step back. I sent her a couple of gift cards for food and things and when I went out I bought her groceries, but like I realized she was gonna miss the lesson in learning that the reason we have savings is for these kinds of times. And how will God step in and provide for her? Like she ended up with a babysitting job she wasn't expecting that paid really well for a few weeks. And a couple grandparents sent her a little bit of money, just like she would have missed seeing how God provides when we're in those needy places. So, Yeah, but it's really hard to step back, especially with your kids. I think, you want to sort of want to fix everything. That people pleasing part of me want to fix it for her. I don't want her to be sad and hurting, but but she has a new job, so she's good. But it was, yeah, definitely a learning time for me.
Yeah.
It's almost like you already read chapter 17.
I
I
know. Yeah.
had to live it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's exactly like that's exactly what
That's
chapter
what
Really.
chapter 17 about is.
So how to provide support in the right way. And
Yeah.
Jody could have
Yeah.
written a chapter. Like that was it. You did it. Yeah. So cutting out the enabling, stop bailing out other adults. Like she actually gave the
Yeah.
example of her daughter.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So hitting our rock bottom moment is different for everyone. And sometimes hitting that is what we need in order to be able to move forward, to find our internal motivation. So I think it's important too that let them doesn't mean we leave them alone and we're just like, you know, screw
Figure
you,
it out.
figure it
Yeah.
out yourself. Like, but like offering support and doing small things as they're figuring it out is good. Like that's not a problem. It's when we come in and like try to save the day that becomes
Yeah. I mean,
problematic.
she actually says in this, in the first part of the chapter, Jody, and unconditional love does not mean unconditional financial support. Often, unconditional love means withdrawing financial support. This is very hard, especially for parents of adult children who are struggling, and it's often the very last lever that is pulled.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah. Well,
And don't shield them from the consequences of what they choose.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, part of life is losing a job.
Yeah. And making big life choice, like she made the big life choice to move to another state,
Yeah.
and one job got her there, but it didn't end up being a healthy situation. And then she was out of it and looking for another, but she made the big choice to move, and that's a big adult choice, right? So she needed to like live with that. She likes where she lives, but I say you'll find another job, but it's going to take some time and you got to work at it to make it happen. So yeah,
yep.
it's hard.
Yep.
And it can be scary. I often, every time Rob has lost his job, I always like, what's the worst case scenario?
Mhm.
We're
Mhm.
not ever going to be homeless.
Yeah.
We have parents, and we might not like what the option is,
Right.
but we're not ever going to be homeless. We're
Yeah.
never going to go hungry, and we're never going to be homeless. And our children, they may have to struggle. They may have to,
Yeah.
go through all their savings. They may have to touch their 401k. We may not want them to make those choices,
Mhm.
but we learn from every choice,
Yeah. I don't like debt. So we got out of debt, and I really taught my kids, and she apparently started charging some stuff on a credit card. And when she told me she had a balance she couldn't pay, I really like in my head, I'm just like, I hate wasted money. I don't want her paying interest. I don't want her paying and then I was like, no, if she can pay the minimum and she can wait until she wants to get out of it. So as soon as she gets stabilized, that's her goal. But I thought I didn't spend that money and it's not the end of the world. It is in my mind wasted money, but I had to let go of my own issues with that because they're not my issues. They're her issues now. She made those choices, and if I go fix it, she's not learning from those decisions that she made. So,
Yep.
It's good stuff. So I underline in this chapter, people avoid healing because they do not believe they can face the pain they're running from. So let them borrow their belief from you. Because when someone feels accepted, loved, and supported, it's easier for them to believe in their ability to step back into life too. So when we're in hard situations, people are in hard situations, our support matters. Like pressure doesn't work. Support and an unconditional love and giving them agency is what works. We also know that about ourselves too, right? Like shaming ourselves into losing that 10 pounds we were supposed to lose. Like if shaming ourselves worked, we would have done it already, right? Like it would have worked already, but Shaming ourselves into it just doesn't work. Giving ourselves that unconditional love and support works, right? But that doesn't mean that, like, loving ourselves to health doesn't mean that we're just okay with where we are. That's not what that means either. Like, that we're just accepting where we are. It means that we're wanting better for ourselves and loving ourselves where we're at, right?
Mhm.
So when you say let me, you focus on providing support without taking over while creating the environments and tools necessary for another person to get better for themselves. Believe in their ability to heal and create an environment where change is possible. Yeah, that's what I have.
So good.
After take your oh, I love this too. Casey Davis, she talks about dropping off a tower of paper plates and cups so they don't have to do dishes while caring for a newborn. That's just a really good idea.
It's a genius idea.
Just a really good idea. I'm going to start doing that.
I know.
Yeah, there's like little ways that we can support people. And I think about that too, like in trying to gain influence with people who, like, I'm watching people that I know, like, I know these products would change her life. Like, I absolutely know it. And I've told her, like, I really think that these products would be helpful for you based on the things that you've said. But we're still in this, like, not quite ready yet phase. And so I find myself like, okay, how can I be supportive in other ways? So I'm like, I can send an article that isn't plexus related, but it's helpful information about something she's going on. And I can show her that I genuinely care about her outside of just buying my products. Like, I don't want her to just buy my products, right? Like, I want her to be healthy and well. And so supporting people in that way. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like, when we show up online, we show up on social media, it should be about more than just buy my product. It should be, here's how I support your healthy living, even outside of plexus, right? So posting stuff that shows wellness from other forms and in other ways, like healthy recipes or whatever, just healthy living that supports what we're doing. I'm thinking through ways, just I'm saying that I'm thinking through ways that I can coach my team to show up well on social media and supportive without being pushy or aggressive in selling. Because I think we're kind of tired of being aggressively sold to on social media. At least I am. I'm tired of being aggressively sold to.
Yes.
Anyway,
And I think maybe in closing, but how she says, when you help someone else, do it without expectation.
mm,
That I think can be very relevant in our business, but even in relationships. Like just because we love on others, if we are doing that with the expectation that they're going to love us back the same or to do something, it's possible that we're going to get hurt.
well, and that's it ultimately is manipulation, right? Like
Yeah.
when we do
Doing
something
something to get them
to
to
get
behave a
something else.
certain way.
Yeah, it's manipulation.
Yeah.
And I
Like,
think people feel that.
yeah.
They feel them being manipulated. Yeah, I've had to, well, because it just leads to a whole lot of resentment, right? Like, if I
I
do
did
this,
this for
then you're
you.
gonna do this for me, right?
Mhm.
Not necessarily. So you better make sure you're doing it because you just really want to. You
Yeah.
know?
Expecting absolutely nothing back.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's especially hard for me. Because I do show up and show up and show up and show up and show up. And then, so like, then when people don't, man, I am crushed. I'm like, I've done all this stuff for you. Like, and you can't even show up, like, for this one thing for me. It's rough, man. It's rough on me. Uh-oh, did we lose Christy? Oh, there she goes. Uh-oh.
My internet is unstable.
It, well, at least it's just your internet that's
I know.
unstable,
I
right?
mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. I'm a little unstable. It's part of my brand. You just don't really ever know what's coming. Little bit crazy. Little bit crazy.
Jody, I'm so glad that you were on and I got
Thank
to
you,
hear a little bit
Jody.
of your story and get to know you a little bit better
Thanks
tonight.
for having me. I appreciate it. I ordered the book, so if I join again, hopefully
Yeah,
I can figure out where you're at and
yeah.
have
See
a
you next Monday.
Well, I'll let you know where we're at, and I will send you the recordings of our last calls if you want.
Okay.
You don't
Yeah,
even
that,
have to sit down. You could just listen to them
yeah, that'd be awesome.
while
I
you're
appreciate that.
doing whatever.
I
Yeah.
have lots of codependency and people pleasing issues.
Oh boy, this is a good book. This is a
That's
good
what I
one.
hear. So, thank you for having me. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks,
Good to,
Jody.
good